Imagine standing in a concrete jungle of 800,000 people, surrounded by billion-dollar tech HQs, strategic military bases, and towering skyscrapers. Only to ask a local, where's the nearest cornfield? Today, we're dissecting the short film, It's Omaha, by filmmaker Jeremy Brunansky, a surgical, caffeinated dismantling of how we consume the world. Brunansky uses this dad joke charisma to smuggle in a deeper philosophical plea for intellectual curiosity over intellectual comfort. It's time to stop saying "hello, corn" to your biased digital feed and start seeing the empire built right behind you. By the end of today's episode, you will look at your surroundings and place in life with fresh perspective. Grab your coffee, tea, or wine. It's time for the sidebar.
Imagine, if you will, a tourist standing right in the dead center of a bustling modern metropolis.
Right, like an actual concrete jungle?
Exactly. We are talking about a city with a metro population hovering around 800,000 people.
That is not a small town.
No, not at all. There are skyscrapers casting shadows, billion-dollar tech company headquarters humming with servers, and, a massive, globally strategic military base just down the road.
A literal hub of industry.
Yeah, and this tourist, completely surrounded by all of this towering infrastructure, walks right up to a local resident and asks, completely deadpan, where would I find the nearest cornfield from here?
Oh, man. It's the ultimate manifestation of traveling with your eyes wide shut.
It really is.
You are physically present in this incredibly complex environment, but mentally you are miles away, desperately hunting for the one single stereotype you, packed in your suitcase.
And that bizarre, stubborn psychological trap is exactly what we are unpacking today. Welcome to the Deep Dive, everyone.
Glad to be here. We have a lot to cover today.
We really do. We have a truly fascinating stack of sources on the table in front of us today.
Yeah, some great materials.
We are looking at the transcript and a companion blog post for a brilliant short film titled It's Omaha, created by filmmaker and artist Jeremy Brunansky.
It's such a great piece of media.
And alongside the film materials, we also have this incredibly detailed sidebar reference sheet, which acts as a biographical deep dive into the creator himself.
Which, honestly, we're going to need every single piece of that biographical context.
Oh, absolutely.
Because what presents itself on the surface as this slightly goofy, fast-paced tourism video is actually a highly sophisticated comedic critique.
Right.
It is basically a surgical dismantling of how we consume the world around us.
So our mission today is to break down the mechanics of this film for you. We're going to explore the central metaphor of traveling with blinders on.
Which is so prevalent.
Yeah. And we're going to dissect the very specific comedy mechanism the creator uses, which hinges on this massive friction between epic, world-building scale and mundane, almost tragic human fixation.
That contrast is just so good.
It really is. And finally, we'll look at the creator's own background to understand his underlying argument for expansive, intellectually open travel.
So to really understand the baseline human behavior this film is targeting, we have to, put our focus squarely on the protagonist.
The tourist.
Exactly. The blog post actually describes him as a lone, coffee-reliant tourist.
Which is such a great phrase.
Right. We watch him arrive in Nebraska, and he possesses this singular, unshakable objective.
He tells a local he needs to do some photography and video work of Omaha, and immediately, without skipping a beat, pivots to demanding the location of a cornfield.
It's just so absurd. And the blog post explicitly points out the irony here. He is on a quest for the, quote, legendary Nebraska cornfield.
But let's look at the psychology of this for a second. I get the concept of cognitive dissonance, but I have to play devil's advocate.
Okay, go for it.
If he goes to a city of 800,000 people and actively ignores the urban reality to find a vegetable, doesn't the comedy border on just being patronizing to the tourist?
I see what you mean.
Why is this specific behavior so universally recognizable to us?
Well, it is recognizable because it is a dramatized version of something we literally all do.
Which is?
Rely on heuristics.
Ah, right, mental shortcuts.
Exactly. A heuristic is essentially a mental shortcut. The human brain is bombarded with millions of data points every second.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
Right, so to avoid cognitive overload, we build schemas, these little mental architectures of what we expect a place or a person to be.
So we don't have to process everything from scratch.
Exactly, and the specific mechanism at play here is the availability heuristic. If you ask a coastal resident to think of the Midwest, the most readily available cultural image is agriculture.
Because that's what they've seen in movies or,
Right.
on the news or read in a passing headline.
Precisely. The blog post actually uses the term flyover tropes to describe this exact phenomenon.
Well, that's a perfect term for it.
It mentions the pervasive cultural idea that the Midwest is entirely reducible to, quote, shucking corn.
Shucking corn. Yeah.
So the tourist isn't being patronized, really. He is being exposed as a victim of his own cognitive efficiency.
That's a great way to put it. Cognitive efficiency.
Right, because he is not in Omaha to discover what Omaha is. He is in Omaha to confirm the heuristic he already built in his head.
Because it takes energy to update your mental model of the world when you're confronted with new information.
Exactly. It takes zero energy to just demand a cornfield.
It's like setting up a massive state-of-the-art IMAX screen to show breathtaking high-definition footage of the cosmos, but the audience member in the front row is just using the glow of the projector light to read the back of a cereal box.
Yes.
The reality is grand, but the focus is stubbornly microscopic.
That is a perfect mechanical analogy for what the film is doing. And what makes the writing so sharp is that it doesn't try to gaslight the tourist or the audience.
What do you mean by that?
Well, when the tourist asks for the cornfield, the local resident doesn't say, "What corn? We don't have corn."
Oh, right. He doesn't deny it.
No, the local responds, "Well, two things Nebraska is known for, I suppose, are college football and corn."
So he actually validates the existence of the stereotype.
Yeah,
He admits, yes, we do have agriculture and we do love our sports.
exactly. The film completely acknowledges the reality of the agriculture.
Okay, so then where is the joke?
The comedic tension doesn't come from the corn existing. The tension comes from the tourists' insistence on only seeing the corn.
Uh-huh. It's the blinders.
Right. It's the total refusal to widen the aperture, and that refusal is the engine that drives the entire comedic structure of the film.
Which brings us to the actual mechanics of the humor. Because knowing that a tourist is wearing blinders doesn't automatically make something funny on a screen, right?
No, you need structure.
Right. The humor relies entirely on how the filmmaker structurally contrasts the tourist's narrow view with the actual objective reality of Omaha.
And this is where the narrator comes in.
Oh, the narrator. Yes.
The narrator is the counterweight to the tourist. If the tourist represents the microscopic, the narrator represents the macroscopic.
Right. The big picture.
Yes. The film uses the narrator to systematically drop these massive, epic historical facts on the audience. It is an exercise in world building.
Let's actually walk through the timeline the film throws at us.
Yeah.
Because, honestly, the sheer scale of the history is wild.
It really is.
It doesn't start with modern skyscrapers. The narrator takes us all the way back to 1804.
1804.
Yeah. Lewis and Clark, arguably the most famous explorers in American history, are passing through the territory.
Which is incredible to think about.
And a fur trader traveling with them realizes the strategic importance of the location and sets up a trading post.
Which is a crucial psychological framing for the city right out of the gate.
How so?
Well, it establishes the land not as some sleepy agrarian backwater, but as the literal edge of the known universe for early American expansion.
Oh, wow. The edge of the known universe.
Yeah. It was the staging ground for venturing into the unknown, which is ironically the exact opposite of what the tourist is doing.
That is such a good point. The tourist hates the unknown.
Exactly.
And the momentum of that expansion is staggering. The film notes that Omaha is officially founded in 1854.
Okay.
And it only takes 3 years by 1857 for it to be chartered as an official city.
3 years. That's unbelievably fast for the 1800s.
Right. The narrator dubs it the gateway to the West. We are talking about a major geographical choke point.
A hub.
Yes. Steamboats are churning up the Missouri River from St. Louis, unloading cargo and people, and stage lines are running out across the plains to Denver.
You really have to picture the logistics of that era. This wasn't just the place people passed over.
No, definitely not.
It was the vital beating artery of 19th century American commerce. And that infrastructural dominance only scales up as the film moves into the Lincoln era.
Oh, man. This was the historical fact that actually stopped me in my tracks when I was reading the transcript.
The railroad.
Yes. In 1869, President Abraham Lincoln designates Omaha as the eastern terminus of the First Transcontinental Railroad.
Which is huge. That is the literal physical unification of the United States.
It's tying the whole country together.
Exactly. And the political reverberations of that were immense.
So immense that the film drops this incredible piece of trivia. You're going to love this.
Lay it on me.
Nebraskans were so thrilled with Lincoln for making their city the hub of the country's rail network that when they moved their state capital in 1867, they named the new city Lincoln right after him.
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't know that's where the name came from.
Right. So on the auditory track of this film, you have a narrator painting a picture of a city that was fundamentally instrumental in the economic and physical survival of a young nation.
It's majestic.
It is. And then the film pivots to the 20th and 21st centuries to prove that the momentum never stopped.
Right. It didn't just peak in the 1800s.
Exactly. In 1955, the film notes, Omaha surpassed Chicago as the world's top livestock market.
A fact the blog post humorously warns you should never mention to anyone from Chicago.
Yeah, they might take offense to that.
But it cements the city's status as an industrial powerhouse, and it flows right into the modern juggernaut phase.
The present day.
Right. The narrator lists the current pillars of the city. Union Pacific Railroad is still headquartered there.
Still there, wow.
The United States Air Force has a massive, highly strategic presence. You have global digital commerce represented by PayPal.
PayPal's there too.
Yep. And, of course, the financial leviathan that is Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, bringing in billions. The city sees 13 million visitors a year.
13 million. Okay, so let's pause and dissect the cognitive dissonance happening here.
Let's do it.
On one hand, you have this booming, authoritative voiceover laying out the blueprints of a literal empire.
Right.
The narrator is handing the viewer the keys to a city that is secretly running the country's logistics, military, and digital infrastructure.
All of this epic scale.
And while this auditory majesty is washing over us, what is happening visually on the screen?
We keep cutting back to our lone tourist.
Right. And what is he doing? He is standing at a counter saying, "Get a large hot black coffee, thanks."
So mundane.
So mundane. And then, at the climax of his journey, he finally locates a single stalk of corn. He walks up to it and he just says, "Hello, corn."
Hello, corn. I mean, that is the mechanism of the comedy right there.
It's perfect.
It is the violent collision of the epic and the mundane. The humor is generated entirely by the friction between the immense scale of the reality and the microscopic scale of the tourist's ambition.
Looking at Jeremy Brunansky's Sidebar sheet, under his comedic influences, he lists Steve Martin, Monty Python, Mel Brooks, and Charlie Chaplin.
Heavy hitters.
Yeah. And you can absolutely feel the Monty Python DNA in that specific contrast.
Oh, totally.
It is that classic British sketch setup, you know?
Yeah.
The incredibly serious BBC-style documentary voiceover clashing with a completely oblivious, physically absurd character bumbling around in the foreground.
It is the absurdity of scale. But what's fascinating to me is how the film delivers this historical and economic data without feeling like a high school civics lecture.
Right, because it could so easily be boring.
Exactly. If we just read the list we just discussed, Lewis and Clark, the Transcontinental Railroad, the 1955 livestock market, the Air Force, Berkshire Hathaway, it sounds really dense.
That sounds like a textbook.
It could easily become a dry municipal textbook.
But the tone is completely the opposite.
Yeah.
The blog post gives us the perfect vocabulary for this. It describes the film's energy as punchy and caffeinated.
Caffeinated, I like that.
Yeah, and it says it's driven by a, quote, dad joke charisma that would make Dale Carnegie proud.
And that Dale Carnegie reference is critical, actually.
Why is that?
Well, Carnegie wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People. His entire philosophy was based on energetic, positive persuasion.
Right, you catch more flies with honey.
Exactly. You don't convince people by lecturing them or making them feel stupid. You convince them by making them feel good, by being relentlessly affable.
So this caffeinated dad joke tone is essentially a delivery system.
A Trojan horse.
Yes. It's a way to bypass the viewer's natural defenses. Because, let's be honest, if you know you're watching a tourism ad or a Chamber of Commerce video, your guard immediately goes up.
Oh, sure. You know you are being sold to.
Right. But here, the pacing is so fast and the tone is so slightly goofy that the narrator just starts rapidly downloading this massive list of lifestyle amenities right into your brain.
And the list is relentless. The narrator fires off the Orpheum Theater, the Jean Leahy Mall, the Heartland of America fountain.
Just bam, bam, bam.
Yeah. He pivots to the outdoors, painting a picture of scenic river and lake walks, kayaking, fishing, running in the, quote, cool Nebraska air.
Sounds nice, honestly.
Right. And he drops in the Henry Dorley Zoo and Aquarium.
And then The ultimate absurd detail.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
Fowler's pumpkin patch.
The 50-acre pumpkin patch.
Yes. The film highlights Fowler's pumpkin patch and specifically notes that it is 50 acres in size.
Which is massive.
The blog post actually jokes that this is essentially perfect for people who like orange vegetables.
That's hilarious.
But I want to talk about the mechanics of that specific joke. Why 50 acres?
Because it is an industrial scale stereotype.
Okay, unpack that.
Well, 50 acres of pumpkins is a spatial absurdity. It takes the agrarian stereotype that the tourist is looking for, the small, quaint family farm, and blows it up to the exact same corporate scale as PayPal or Berkshire Hathaway.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about it like that.
It's a massive, sweeping expanse of squash. It's farming, but at an epic scale.
It's so specific that it anchors the comedy.
Yeah.
But I have to ask you about the dynamic here. As the film progresses, the narrator practically transforms into this hyper-enthusiastic city booster, literally pitching relocation, outdoor activities, and housing to the audience.
Right. He gets a little desperate.
Yeah. So is the tourist the only one being skewered here? Or is the joke also slightly on the narrator? Like, is the film highlighting the slight desperation of a Midwestern city trying to prove its worth to a guy who just wants his hot black coffee?
That is a highly perceptive reading of the text. Yes, it is definitely a dual-layered critique.
Okay, so it cuts both ways.
Exactly. The tourist represents the apathy and stubborn reductionism of the outside world. He refuses to see.
And the narrator.
The narrator represents the overcompensation of the misunderstood middle America.
It's the communication gap.
Precisely. The narrator is throwing a 50-acre pumpkin patch, the Strategic Command of the United States Air Force, and Warren Buffett at a guy who just wants to take a picture of a vegetable.
It's like they're speaking two entirely different languages.
It highlights the vast, almost tragicomic divide between how the coasts view the Midwest and how the Midwest views itself.
Right.
The Midwest is basically shouting its resume into the void, and the coasts are just asking where the farm is.
That tension is brilliant. It makes the film so much more than just a promotional video. It's a full-on psychological study.
It really is.
But to truly understand why this specific comedic contrast was chosen, why the filmmaker is so fixated on dismantling this one-dimensional worldview, we have to pivot from the art to the artist.
We have to look at the mind that built this.
Exactly. And this is where the sidebar reference sheet becomes invaluable.
Oh, totally. Because when we look at Jeremy Brunansky's background, we realize that the tourist's narrow, singular focus is the exact polar antithesis of the creator's own existence.
Antithesis doesn't even begin to cover it. The sheer breadth of his background is staggering.
It's kind of intimidating, honestly.
Let's start with just the physical movement. The travel section notes he has explored nearly all 50 U.S. states.
Oh.
Nearly all of them, yeah.
Yeah.
And internationally, he's traveled to Mexico, Canada, South Africa, the Netherlands, Germany, and Poland.
Wow.
So right off the bat, this is not a person who builds a mental cardboard box and stays in it. This is someone who physically moves through the world to gather empirical data.
But the physical travel is just the surface layer. The intellectual and professional expansiveness is where it gets truly fascinating.
Let's hear it.
The document outlines a 20-plus year career as a frontline corporate leader. He holds certifications as a Google AI professional.
Wait, really?
Yes, specifically focusing on AI digital marketing and revenue operations.
Okay, stop there for a second. AI revenue operations is a highly technical, data-centric, mathematically rigorous field.
Very much so.
It is the epitome of left-brain analytical structuring. You are looking at patterns, optimizing systems, and dealing with hard digital realities.
Exactly. And then you look at the section of his bio labeled the creative core, or the brain box, and you find a completely different neurological profile.
What's in there?
Well, he began acting, singing, dancing, and playing classical piano at around 5 years old.
5 years old. He has a music degree with an emphasis on vocal performance, right?
Yep. He graduated from the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences. He plays jazz and Latin percussion.
A true polymath.
He's a filmmaker. He's a published author. Oh, and just to throw a physical extreme in there, he's completed 2 Spartan races.
Okay, that's just showing off at that point.
Right. It reveals a mind that fundamentally refuses to be categorized or siloed.
He does a bit of everything.
And if you look at the philosophical and intellectual influences he lists, the framework of this film suddenly makes complete sense.
What kind of influences?
He cites studying philosophers like Carl Jung and John Locke.
Marcus Aurelius.
Yes, let's actually analyze that. Marcus Aurelius was a Stoic emperor.
Right.
One of the core tenets of Stoicism, particularly in Aurelius's meditations, is the practice of seeing things exactly as they are.
Stripping away the illusions.
Exactly. Stripping away the subjective value judgments and emotional overlays we project onto reality.
Which is exactly what the tourist fails to do.
Precisely.
The tourist is overlaying his subjective value judgment.
Yeah.
His desire for a stereotypical cornfield over the objective reality of an 800,000-person city.
He is living in a fantasy.
The creator, steeped in Stoic philosophy, is basically creating art that mocks the failure to see objective reality.
That's a great insight. And he pairs that deep philosophical grounding with historical strategists like Machiavelli and Lao Tzu and modern business visionaries like Bob Iger and Walt Disney.
He understands the mechanics of power, persuasion, and large-scale entertainment.
Yes.
But my absolute favorite part of this bio is that right next to these heavyweights of philosophy and economics, right next to Aristotle and Milton Friedman, he lists his influences in fiction and graphic narrative.
Oh, the comic books.
Yes. The Silver Surfer, Batman, Doctor Strange, the Fantastic Four.
Which tells us everything we need to know about his approach to storytelling. It's high and low art mixed together.
Exactly. When you synthesize a background in Google AI, classical piano, Machiavellian strategy, and Marvel comic books, you get a creator who inherently rejects reductionism.
How could a mind holding all of those contradictory, complex disciplines together ever sympathize with a tourist who just wants to see one single thing?
He can't. He absolutely can't. The film's underlying argument for expansive travel is a direct reflection of Brunansky's multifaceted existence.
So the comedy is a vehicle.
Yes, he is using comedy to express his deep frustration with one-dimensional thinking.
If you contrast the creator with the character he created, it's literally night and day.
Complete opposites.
The creator has absorbed the whole world. He's studying French and Polish. He's listening to Herbie Hancock jazz and Pink Floyd concept albums. He's analyzing the film techniques of Hitchcock and Scorsese.
He's omnivorous.
Yes, he is essentially begging the viewer, please open your eyes. See the rich, complex, contradictory tapestry of a place like Omaha, rather than just hunting for the one tiny sliver of data you already possess. It is a plea for intellectual curiosity over intellectual comfort.
I love that phrase. Intellectual curiosity over intellectual comfort.
And this brings us to the thematic climax of the film and, of our deep dive today. We have to connect this comedic structure and this vast creator background back to the ultimate real-world takeaway regarding Middle America itself.
That big takeaway.
Right. We need to reevaluate the space between the coasts.
The blog post gives us the perfect thesis for this reevaluation. It states that Omaha is less about shucking and more about hustling.
Hustling, that's a great word for it.
And it uses this incredible line, arguing that Omaha is a city, quote, secretly running the country while you're busy looking for a parking spot in LA.
Oh, that line is rhetorically brilliant.
Because it flips the script, right?
Exactly. It flips the cultural script entirely. It takes the perceived glamour of coastal living Los Angeles and reduces it to its most mundane, frustrating reality, sitting in traffic looking for parking.
Which everyone hates.
Right. And simultaneously, it takes the perceived mundane reality of the Midwest, the cornfields, and reveals the hidden glamour of massive global influence, military strategy, and economic power.
It forces the viewer into a very high-level cognitive task, which is holding two opposing ideas in their head at the exact same time.
Which is hard to do.
It is. The film doesn't take the easy defensive route. It doesn't say, we have absolutely no corn, please only look at our skyscrapers and tech companies.
Right. It doesn't run from its roots.
Exactly. It boldly says, we have incredible steaks and a surreal 50-acre pumpkin patch. Andy, we have the United States Air Force and the billions of Berkshire Hathaway.
It is college sports and PayPal.
Yes. It is agriculture and algorithms.
That is the rhetorical sophistication of the piece. If the film were purely defensive, like if it tried to scrub away the agricultural roots entirely just to appear purely cosmopolitan, it would reek of insecurity.
It would feel fake.
Exactly. By leaning into the corn and the pumpkins, it completely disarms the viewer. It says, yes, your heuristic exists. We see your stereotype. But we are going to show you that it is only a fraction of a percent of the whole massive reality.
But I want to bring us to the ending of the film, because the way the creator resolves this tension is really telling.
The resolution is key.
Despite everything the narrator has pitched, despite the epic history, the tech companies, the zoos, the lakes, the tourist actually achieves his singular, stubborn goal.
He does.
He finds his cornfield, he walks up to the stalk, says his hello corn, and he genuinely seems happy. He got exactly what he came for.
A happy ending, sort of.
Right. So does the film actually hate the cliche? Or is it saying something much softer? Is it saying, sure, enjoy your corn, take your photo, but please just realize the scale of the empire you are standing in while you do it?
That is a crucial distinction. The resolution is gentle. It is not cynical.
It's not mean-spirited.
No, the film does not punish the tourist. He doesn't miss his flight. He doesn't get chased out of town by angry locals. He doesn't spill his hot black coffee. He gets his moment.
Why do you think that is? With all the frustration the film builds about his blinders, why let him win?
I think it goes back to Brunansky's influences.
The Dale Carnegie stuff.
Exactly. Drawing from that deep well of Dale Carnegie's win friends philosophy and his appreciation for the warm, character-driven comedy of someone like Steve Martin or Bob Newhart, he knows that hostility is a terrible teacher.
That is so true.
You don't change people's minds by attacking them. You change their minds by illuminating what they're missing.
So the film allows the tourist his small microscopic victory, but the ultimate gift, the actual knowledge, is given to the audience.
Exactly. The joke is on the tourist, but the insight belongs to the viewer. We are the ones who walk away changed.
We get the whole picture.
We leave knowing about the 1857 city charter. We leave knowing about the 13 million visitors, the Transcontinental Railroad origins, the 1955 livestock supremacy.
It's a lot of knowledge disguised as a joke.
The film essentially says to the audience, look at how happy this guy is with his one tiny piece of corn. Imagine how incredible his life would be. Imagine how much richer his experience would be if he just took his blinders off and looked at the whole feast.
It is an invitation to eat the whole feast. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's step back and look at the trajectory of what we've unpacked today.
It's been a journey.
We started by analyzing a guy stubbornly hunting for a simple cornfield in the middle of a major metropolis.
Oh.
We broke down the comedic brilliance of contrasting epic world-building history with the most mundane human goals imaginable.
The friction between the two.
Right. And we discovered a creator whose vast, multidisciplinary life, from Google AI and revenue operations to classical piano, from Spartan races to studying the stoicism of Marcus Aurelius, serves as a literal, practical blueprint for how we should all approach travel, learning, and consuming information.
It truly is a masterclass in using lighthearted humor to dismantle deep-seated prejudice and cognitive bias.
It really is.
But as we look at the whole picture, it raises an implication that goes far beyond physical travel or tourism videos.
Oh. What are you thinking?
Well, look at Brunansky's background again. He's a certified Google AI professional.
That's what it says.
He literally works with algorithms for a living. Do you think there's a parallel here?
Between what?
Between this physical tourist wandering around looking for a physical cornfield and what we all do digitally every single day.
Oh, wow. That is a brilliant connection, the digital blinders.
Think about it. We've spent this entire time analyzing the absurdity of a guy traveling to a new place with physical blinders on, ignoring the massive architecture around him just to find the cliche he expects.
Right.
But what are our modern digital algorithms doing? Are our personalized feeds, our highly curated social media timelines, just serving us the digital equivalent of a Nebraska cornfield over and over again?
Oh my gosh, that is exactly what they are doing. The algorithm is the ultimate enabler of the availability heuristic.
It really is. We log onto our phones, and the system feeds us exactly what confirms our pre-existing biases, exactly what we already expect to see, exactly what makes us comfortable.
We are just staring at our screens, clicking on the same opinions, the same outrage, the same comforting tropes. We are essentially just saying, hello, corn, to our phones all day long.
Exactly. And while we are staring at our digital corn, feeling completely validated in our tiny cardboard boxes of expectation, a massive, complex, entirely contradictory, and beautiful world of contrasting ideas is buzzing right past us entirely unnoticed.
The Transcontinental Railroad of human thought is being built right behind us, and we are just looking for our vegetable.
That's a staggering thought to end on.
It really is. The blinders aren't just for tourists. They are built into the code of how we live now.
Something to think about next time you open an app.
Definitely. That is something you are going to have to chew on long after this audio stops playing.
Oh.
Because as we discussed at the very beginning, it takes actual energy to break out of that cardboard box, to update your mental model, and to truly see the empire around you.
It takes work, but it's worth it.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. keep your eyes wide open, question the heuristics your algorithms are feeding you, and wherever your next physical or digital adventure takes you, make sure you look for the city behind the cornfield. Until next time.